Okay, hello everyone. In our previous session, we discussed about what is hardness of water, how to determine the hardness of water by using titration method, and we have also done some of the numerical problems based on the EDT titration method and all those things. So basically, EDT method actually provides the how much amount of hardness producing substances available in a given water sample. Now the question actually how to purify the water sample, how to how to remove some of the hardness producing substances from the water sample. So that is actually called water softening methods. So in this session we are going to discuss about one of the important water softening method that is known as actually ion exchange method. Okay, and today's talk actually is something like this. So I'm going to discuss about what is ion exchange method. So this is one of the important water softening method. So that we will discuss, and synthesis of ion exchange resins. So ion exchange method actually involves usage of ion exchange resins. How to synthesize some of the ion exchange resins, that we will discuss, and what is the main principle of ion exchange method. So there is exchange of cations from the resin and the solution like that, and reactions involved in ion exchange method that we will discuss, and what are the advantages and limitations of ion exchange method. So all these things we will discuss in this session. Okay, so generally, as I said in the earlier sessions, most of the industries they need soft water. So we have actually limited amount of surface water or soft water only, but industries actually requires huge amount of soft water. So then what we have to do means we have to convert the impure waters or surface water into soft water in order to fulfill the requirement of the water demand for the various industries. So generally there are so many water softening methods are available. So we can able to classify water softening methods into two different types, like internal treatment methods or external treatment methods. So particularly like thermal power plants or nuclear power plant, they need actually huge amount of water in order to generate huge amount of steam energy. Yes or no? So that means they have very big boilers. So in that boilers, always they used to produce steam energy. That steam energy actually useful to produce mechanical energy, that is actually converting electrical energy. So generally in case of boilers, so we have to purify the water sample in two different manner. One is actually we can use some of the internal treatment methods in order to convert the hard water into soft water, or we can also go for the external treatment methods. So internal treatment means first of all we have to introduce hard water into the boiler. After that we have to provide suitable conditioning agent. So there are two different methods are there for purifying the water sample inside the boiler. We have some chemical methods and we have some actually physical methods also. So chemical, we have to provide suitable conditioning agent like this, carbonate conditioning or fast conditioning or Kalgan conditioning or sodium aluminum conditioning method like that. And we have some physical methods also like this, colloidal conditioning, electrical conditioning and radioactive conditioning also. So but this is not our syllabus. Our syllabus mainly focuses on the external treatment methods. So internal treatment method means first of all we are actually taking the hard water sample into the boiler. So then we are actually providing suitable conditioning agent like this. But external treatment methods means before introducing water into the boilers, we have to purify the water sample. We have to soften the water sample. So that means externally by using different method we have to purify the water sample. So then only we have to introduce that water into various purposes. So we have different external treatment methods. These are actually carried out before entry of water into the boiler. Okay, we have three important methods like this: lime soda process, zeolite process and ion exchange process. So each method actually having their own advantages as well as own disadvantages also. But in our syllabus we have only one of the important method, that is actually ion exchange method. So that is the reason I am focusing only on the ion exchange process only. So if you want to know something about all these things, we will provide the corresponding material, we can go to that material. But in this session I am going to discuss about the ion exchange process, what is ion exchange process, what is the principle involved in ion exchange process and all those things. Okay, so let us start ion exchange method. Okay, so generally this ion exchange method actually extensively used in various nuclear power plants or thermal power plants or even various industries like paper industry, pulp industry, oil industry, petroleum industry, polymer industry, Like the various industries or various chemical industries, normally they used to follow this method, ion exchange method. Even some of the medical pharmaceutical industries also using this method in order to purify the water and in order to control purity and pH of the water sample. So each industry they need some particular water sample with the desired pH value and desired purity like that. So in order to control the purity, in order to control the pH of the given water sample or available water sample, hard water sample, we have to follow this ion exchange method. So by following ion exchange process, we can easily purify the water sample, and finally we will get the desired water sample by removing undesirable ions from the water sample. So our water sample contains various impurities like calcium impurities or magnesium impurities or sodium impurities or iron impurities like that. So most of the time we don't need actually calcium and magnesium impurities or some other iron impurities. So in order to remove those things, we have to replace those ions with some of the acceptable ions. So that is actually exchange process. So this method actually removing undesirable ions, that means unwanted ions like cations or anions available in the given water sample by replacing them with the acceptable ones. Acceptable one means maybe in our water sample available, no problem, or hydroxide ions available, no problem, like that. So whatever the ions is not creating any damage to our particular requirement, we can introduce such kind of ions into the water actually. So like this method actually removing unwanted, undesirable ions from the water sample by replacing them with the acceptable ions. Okay, so this is actually, we can see here the block diagram of the ion exchange method, ion exchange unit or ion exchange unit like this. So there are two chambers are available, and we will discuss about all these things in the next slide actually. So basically ion exchange method is actually one of the extensively useful method in order to purify the water sample or in order to control the pH of the water sample. And another important thing actually, ion exchange method is also known as demineralization process. This is also known as demineralization process. Why? Because during this method, if you are going through this method, so this method effectively removes both cations and anions available in the given water sample. So ion exchange method can easily can able to remove both cations in the given water sample like calcium, magnesium salts or any heavy other metal ion salts, or all types of anions like chlorides, sulfates, carbonates, bicarbonates, whatever the anions are available. So it can effectively remove the both cations and anions. Finally, it will provide only water sample that is actually a demineralized water sample. So that is the reason this method is also known as demineralization process. And ion exchange process mainly uses two important resins. One is actually known as cation exchange resin and other one actually known as anion exchange resin. By using cation exchange resin and anion exchange resin, so this method can effectively remove all types of cations, all types of anions available in the given water sample. Now let us see what is cation exchange resin, what is anion exchange resin, how to synthesize some of the cation exchange resins and how to synthesize some of the anion exchange resin and all those things. And before that, the basic question actually, what is the meaning of resin? What is this resin? So first we have to understand what is this resin. Then only you can able to generate suitable cation exchange resin or anion exchange resin. So let us see what is resin. So resins are actually, these are some of the solid materials or semi-solid materials or amorphous products also. Semi-solids or amorphous products, most of the time these are actually viscous materials. So viscous materials you can see here, these are actually mostly originated from the plant's origin. Mostly they are from the plant's origin like this or like this. So very sticky, very viscous substance like this. And these resins actually nothing but actually oxidized products are some of the terpenes available in the plant's origin like this. So these are actually secondary metabolized products. So resins can be classified into two different types like naturally occurring resins like this, or we can also synthesize the resins in our laboratory depending upon our requirement actually with desired pore size, desired solubility and reactivity like that. So we can able to synthesize the resins in our laboratory also. So resins actually classified into two different types like this, naturally occurring resins or synthetic resins like this. Okay. And resins also having another important property. So basically these are viscous substances, but they can easily convert into rigid polymers through suitable curing process. So these resins are actually acting as a starting materials for generating highly rigid polymers by using suitable curing process. Okay, so let us see one of the example. For example, here we have two different reactants like this. First one actually called bisphenol A, and second one actually called epichlorohydrin like this. Whenever this is actually phenolic compound and this is actually epoxy compound, because here you can see this is an epoxy ring. This is actually epoxy compound and this is one of the phenolic compound. So whenever these two reactants are reacting each other, there is a formation of corresponding epoxy resin like this. So this is one of the resin molecule. So resin molecules like this always having some kind of complex structure like this, and this resin actually one of the viscous substance, one of the very thickest substance, and if we provide suitable temperature greater than 200 degrees centigrade, for example in this case, if we provide suitable temperature, so this resin actually converting into corresponding highly rigid polymer like this. It can able to convert. This is not the polymer. This is actually one of the flexible viscous substance only, but it can be converted into a very highly rigid polymer if you provide suitable curing agent like this. So curing process means conversion of resin molecules into corresponding polymers, actually a curing process. So generally this curing process requires high temperature, or sometimes there is a need of catalyst also, and sometimes there is a need of both catalyst as well as temperature also. So like this, these resins can be converted into corresponding rigid polymers whenever if you are providing suitable curing agent like temperature or curing agent or catalyst, something like that. So that is also another important property. And these, in the case of ion exchange method, we are also going to use two different resins, and those are actually called ion exchange resins. So basically our main aim is actually we want to purify the water sample. That means we want to remove the cations available in the water sample, and we want to remove the all types of anions available in the water sample. So in order to remove such not remove all cations, anions available in the water sample, we have to use ion exchange process, and this process uses actually two important resins, and those are actually called ion exchange resins. But basically resin means it is a kind of viscous substance that can be converted into corresponding polymer, rigid polymer through suitable curing process like this. Now see, let us see what is ion exchange resin. So in case of ion exchange method, we are using two different resins. One is actually cation exchange resin, other one actually anion exchange resin. So both are actually organic polymers. These are nothing but actually some of the organic polymers, but they can able to exchange the cations available in the solution as well as on the resin molecule. So they act as a medium for exchange, ion exchange. They are actually acting as medium for ion exchange. Ion exchange means, so resin molecule contains certain replaceable cations, and our solution contains calcium and magnesium ions. So there is a exchange between them. So like this, ion exchange resin actually nothing but one of the organic polymer acting as a resin, and these polymers actually porous in nature. If you see the structure of this material, these are actually highly porous in nature, and they are actually insoluble in water medium, and they have actually cross-linked long chain structure. They have actually cross-linked structure and long chain polymers actually, and capable of exchanging ions. They can able to exchange ions available on the resin and the solution actually. So like this, in this method we are using two different ion exchange resins. One is known as actually cation exchange resin, other one actually known as anion exchange resin. But the question is how to synthesize these two resins, how to generate cation exchange resin, how to generate anion exchange resin. So that we will see. So generally this ion exchange method needs two different resins. First actually, then there is a requirement of cation exchange resin, and second thing actually there is a requirement of anion exchange resin. So cation exchange resin, and these two resins, both the resins are actually nothing but organic polymers, and these are actually developed, synthesized from the styrene and divinyl benzene. These are actually copolymers of styrene and divinyl benzene. So whenever styrene reacts with divinyl benzene, there is a formation of corresponding copolymer, and that copolymer can be converted into cation action resin or anion action resin. So now the question is what? So generally cation action resin actually having this kind of arrangement. So the resin molecule actually contains lot of negative charge. So R means resin. So this resin molecule contains negative charge like this, and around that negative charge we have a replaceable cations, protons like this. Cation action resin actually looks like something like this. The resin substance actually contains lot of negative charge like this, and around that negative charge there is a replaceable protons like this. All these are actually replaceable protons. They can easily replaceable with any other cations. So normally if you want to represent cation action resin, the general notation actually R minus H plus. So this is the representation of the cation action resin. R minus means the resin substance actually contain lot of negative charge like this, and each negative charge actually stabilized by proton like this. H plus is like this. Similarly, we have actually, this is the representation of anion action resin. So this is also one of the resin molecule. So this is also one of the resin molecule, but this time, so this resin actually contains lot of positive charge, and that positive charge actually neutralized by replaceable anions like OH minus like this. So then how to represent anion action resin? R plus OH minus. So R plus actually indicates the resin substance. R plus means resin substance, and this is the corresponding OH minus anion. So that can be replaced with any other anion. So like this, there is a requirement of two different resins like this. There is a requirement of cation action resin, and there is a requirement of anion action resin like this. But these two polymers are actually these two resins are actually developed from the copolymer of styrene and divinyl benzene. So we will see how to synthesize this one, how to synthesize this kind of resins. Okay. So how to represent cation action resin? R minus H plus. How to represent anion action resin? R plus and OH minus. Here H plus or this OH minus are actually called replaceable cations or replaceable anions. They can easily exchange with the corresponding cations, anions available in the water solution. Okay. So now let us see how to synthesize one of the cation action resin. This is our cation action resin, R minus H plus. This is the representation. Now how to synthesize this particular resin? So as I said in the earlier slide, so these two resins actually developed from the copolymer of styrene and divinyl benzene. So first, so these are materials capable of exchange cations in their structure to the cations in the solution. So this resin actually exchanges cations available in their structure. So in this structure, what are the cations available? We have actually protons like this. So this structure actually contains replaceable protons like this. So those protons can be exchanged with cations available in the solution. So solution means in this case actually hard water sample. So our hard water sample actually contains different types of cations like calcium, magnesium, iron, aluminum, something like that. So all these cations can be replaced with this kind of protons in this case. And so these resins are actually styrene divinyl benzene copolymers, as I said in the earlier slide. So basically this is the developed from the styrene divinyl benzene copolymer, and further once copolymer is generated, further we have to do either sulfonation process or carboxylation process in order to generate the suitable cation action resin in this case. So that means what are the starting materials we need? We need actually styrene, and this is actually divinyl benzene. So this is the structure of styrene molecule. Benzene contains one vinyl group. This is also known as monovinyl benzene. But this is actually benzene ring. So this is actually vinyl group, CH2 double bond CH2, and this is also another CH double bond CH2 group. So this is actually divinyl benzene. So if these two compounds are reacting each other, then there is a formation of corresponding styrene divinyl benzene copolymer. So okay, so let us see how it is possible actually. So for understanding formation of copolymerization or combination corresponding polymer, just I'm taking one of the simplest polymerization process, ethylene polymerization process. So what is this actually? Let us assume that we have a n number of ethylene molecules. If we can understand this process, we can easily understand the styrene divinyl benzene copolymerization process. So generally, these ethylene molecules polymerizes to produce corresponding polyethylene compound like this. Like this. So this is actually polyethylene compound. So what is the difference between this one? So let us take two monomers. This is actually polymer, and this is the corresponding monomer. So this is actually called polymerization process. So whenever the monomers undergoes polymerization process, there is a formation of corresponding polymers like this. So this is actually ethylene polymerization process. So for understanding purpose, just I am taking two monomers like this. This is the first monomer. This is the second monomer. So first monomer and second monomer. So generally in this case, this is one of the addition polymerization process. So addition polymerization process generally follows free radical mechanism. Free radical polymerization process. That means in this case, first of all, in the presence of free radicals, among these two bonds, one of the bond actually cleave like this. There is a homolytic cleavage of one of the pi bond, because this group actually contains one sigma bond, one actually pi bond. So in the presence of free radical agent, so one of the pi bond actually undergoes cleavage process, that is actually homolytic cleavage process that produces actually radicals like this. So here the dot indicates actually single electrons, single electron. So in the second case also, there is a formation of corresponding radicals like this. So like this, initially there is a formation of radicals like this. So now this electron and this electron combines each other and forms new bond between them. There is a formation of new bond between them. Now this is actually new sigma bond. This becomes like a new sigma bond, and these are sigma bond, these are also sigma bond. So like this, in case of ethylene polymerization process, the monomer contains actually CH2 double bond CH2 group. Whenever there is a polymerization process, there is a cleavage of one of the bond like this, and that cleavage of one of the pi bond like this, and that pi bond actually converting into new type of sigma bond here, new sigma bond between the two different monomers like this. So this is the first monomer and this is the second monomer. So there is a formation new sigma bond between the two different monomers. At the same time, there is a cleavage of another pi bond like this. So like this, generally unsaturated compound undergoes free radical polymerization process in this manner. So whenever we have a CH2 double bond CH2 group, it can polymerize into corresponding polymer compound like this because of the cleavage of the one of the pi bond and formation of new sigma bond between them like this. Formation of new sigma bond between them like this. Yes or not? So this is the first monomer, this is the second monomer. Now you can see here there is a new bond between them like this. At the same time, there is a cleavage of this pi bond as well as this pi bond actually. So this is actually happening in the case of unsaturated compound. But coming to the our case, in our case also we have a two different monomers actually. One is actually styrene and second one actually divinyl benzene. Now these two monomers actually reacting each other in a similar fashion, like ethylene molecules are converting into ethylene molecule, and this is also known as one of the addition polymerization process only. So styrene and divinyl benzene undergoes addition polymerization process in order to form the corresponding styrene divinyl benzene copolymer. But how it is possible? So you can see here, this is also CH double bond CH2, and one of the hydrogen, actually this is the ethylene group, CH2 double bond CH2. This is actually ethylene group. So what is the difference between this one and this one? CH2 double bond, CH2 double bond. Here we have a CH2 group, but here we have a one CH and another hydrogen atom replaced by phenyl group or benzene group like this. That is the only difference. The remaining thing actually everything is same. So it is just like this. CH, pH means this benzene ring, double bond, CH2. So this is the only difference. The rest of the molecule actually very much similar to this one only. So that means it is also one of the unsaturated monomer. And if you can see this one also, this is actually divinyl group. So in this case we have a two such type of groups only. So CH2 double bond CH2, these are also CH double bond CH2 only. So that means both are actually unsaturated compounds. They can easily undergo polymerization process in the presence of heat or in the presence of free radical agent, something like that. So then what is the polymerization process? Whenever there is a polymerization process, so this pi bond undergoes cleavage process. This pi bond also undergoes cleavage process. After that, what will happen? Between these two units, there is a new bond formation between them. Between this CH2 and this CH, there is a new bond formation between them. New sigma bond formation between them. So like that, there is a formation of corresponding styrene divinyl benzene copolymer. So let us see how it is possible. So if these two monomers undergoes addition polymerization process in the presence of suitable polymerizing agent like free radical or heat or catalyst, there is a formation of corresponding styrene divinyl benzene copolymer in this manner. So you can here yellow bonds, actually new bonds formed between them. All these yellow bonds actually new bonds formed between them. For example, so this is the styrene unit. So in this case also, this is the styrene molecule. Yes or no? Styrene and styrene. And immediately we have a divinyl benzene unit. So you can see here, this is the divinyl benzene unit like this. But what is the difference between these two and that two? So here we have a double bond, CH double bond CH2. But this bond undergoes cleavage process. Even this bond also undergoes cleavage process. Between this carbon and this carbon, there is a new bond between them. So that bond actually here are represented by using so yellow color bonds like this. Okay. So this is the new bond between them. So this is the styrene carbon atom and this is the divinyl carbon atom. Between these two there is a new sigma bond formation like this. And again this CH2 group actually connected to another styrene molecule. So the second CH2 group actually connected to another styrene molecule like this. Let us say this is another styrene molecule. So again this bond also cleaved like this and again new bond formation between them like this. So that is actually this is another styrene unit like this. So this process actually continues in a different direction. So until we have how much amount of styrene, how much amount of benzene actually available. So like this, and again on the other side also we have another vinyl group like this, CH double bond CH2. Even this group also can undergo further polymerization process by using different styrene molecules here. So like this, even this unit actually combines with another styrene molecule. So even this unit can also combine with another styrene molecule. So there is a new bond formed between them, these two carbon atoms. So that also we represented here, like this. And this group also connecting to another styrene molecule, that is this one. So like this, there is an alternative arrangement of styrene divinyl benzene units in the corresponding copolymer. So copolymers actually having two different monomers. So this is in this case we have an alternative arrangement like this. One styrene molecule, again divinyl benzene molecule, again styrene molecule. So like this. So this polymer actually growing in three different directions. This is actually three-dimensional polymer. Okay. So but one of the problem is how to represent this kind of polymer during the examination. Just I will try to represent again this molecule from these two monomers. So what is the first thing actually? This bond actually undergoes cleavage process. This bond also undergoes cleavage process. So there is a CH group we have. Now this is actually CH2 unit like this. Now this is the new bond between this CH2 and this CH. CH, single bond CH2. So this part is, but still we have another vinyl group here. This is CH. This is actually CH unit like this, and this CH actually connected to another styrene molecule. CH2, CH. Like this, and again it grows in this manner, and even this CH2 group also connecting to the another styrene molecule. CH, CH2. Like this. So like this we can able to draw the corresponding structure in this manner also. The previous structure both is actually same only. So like this we have to write the corresponding styrene divinyl benzene copolymer formation. This is actually only copolymer. This is not our required resin. So just we generated actually corresponding copolymer only by using styrene divinyl benzene. So then again this polymer, this copolymer undergoes further sulfonation process or carboxylation process, or even react with different types of formaldehyde and amines, and we can able to generate corresponding cation exchange resin as well as anion exchange resin. Now let us see how to generate one of the cation exchange resin by using sulfonation process. After that we will see generation of anion exchange resin also. Okay. So steps to actually, in the first step there is a formation of styrene divinyl benzene copolymer. Once styrene divinyl benzene copolymer is actually available, then we have to go for the step 2. So that is actually, for example, this is our styrene divinyl benzene copolymer already we have generated in the previous step. Now this polymer undergoes either sulfonation process in this manner, or else we can also do carboxylation process by using acetic acid. In either case we can able to generate corresponding cation exchange resin. So let us assume that, so this copolymer undergoes sulfonation process in the presence of sulfuric acid. So if you see this structure, so this molecule actually having 3 different positions, like this is actually ortho position, this is meta position, and this is actually para position. But if you see divinyl benzene, even though it is actually having one ortho and meta position like this, but this is actually, so this is highly hindered position. This is actually a highly hindered position. So the new group cannot go to this place or this place. But we have a styrene molecule. This group actually having lot of space like this. There is no any disturbance. That means whenever if you provide any sulfonating agent like this or carboxylic agent like this, that group actually mostly goes to the mostly prefers to the ortho position or para position only. So, but among these two, para position actually most convenient position when compared to the ortho position. So that is the reason in this case, whenever if you do sulfonation process, the first group actually goes to the para position of the styrene molecule only. So we'll see how it is possible. So if you do sulfonation process in this manner, all the para positions of the styrene molecule, all these styrene para positions actually occupied by SO3 minus and H plus groups. So this is actually SO3 minus and corresponding H plus group like this. Even this position also, this styrene para position, or this styrene para position, or this one also. Like this, all the styrene para positions are actually occupied by sulfonating group like this. So SO3 minus H plus group like this. So if you see this, now this is actually our required resin. This is actually our required cation exchange resin. This is actually our required cation exchange resin. if you see this resin molecule, so resin molecule actually one of the organic compound. This is actually one of the organic compound, organic polymer, and this polymer actually having negative charge like this. Yes or not? Here this polymer contains negative charge like this. Yes or not? So negative charge like this. So the resin molecule actually contains negative charge like this, and correspondingly we have a replaceable cations in this manner. Correspondingly we have a replaceable cations. In this case actually we have a protons. So this is acting as one of the cation exchange resin, because these cations can be exchangeable, replaceable. You can exchange these cations by using any other cation. So that is the reason this is actually known as cation exchange resin. So the resin molecule, the entire resin molecule contains negative charges in this manner, and the correspondingly we have a protons in this manner. So that is the reason always we have to represent cation exchange resin in this manner. So this is the representation of the cation exchange resin. The resin molecule contains negative charges like SO3 minus, SO3 minus, SO3 minus like that, and these are the corresponding replaceable cations like this. So like this we have to synthesize one of the cation exchange resin. Now how to generate anion exchange resin? Even anion exchange resin also can be generated from the same styrene divinyl benzene polymer only, but we have to use different agent, different reagent. So then we can able to generate corresponding anion exchange resin also. So we will see how to generate that one also. So again we are taking actually styrene divinyl benzene copolymer as the main polymer. Now we have to use combination of formaldehyde. So this is actually known as formaldehyde. Formula actually CH2O. So this is the formaldehyde, combination of formaldehyde, and we need actually alkyl amines. We have to use alkyl amines. In this case I am using actually trialkyl amine like this. The combination of formaldehyde and trialkyl amine in the presence of base, we can able to generate corresponding anion exchange resin. We can able to generate corresponding anion exchange resin. So this is the corresponding anion exchange resin. So what is there means, in a previous case we have used actually sulfonating agent like sulfuric acid. So therefore the styrene para positions are actually occupied by SO3 minus H plus group, but in this case we are using different reagent, combination of formaldehyde and trialkylamine and the presence of base. So now this time this reagent actually producing this kind of group like this, CH2, this is actually ammonium group, ammonium cationic group. So that is actually neutralized by OH minus ion like this. So CH2, so this CH2 actually coming from the formaldehyde, and this is actually amine group RN3, and so this is actually cationic group, quaternary ammonium cationic group. So that positives are neutralized by corresponding OH minus. So this OH minus actually obtained from the base. So like this, all the styrene para positions occupied by this particular group, CH2NR3 plus and OH minus. Similarly here also CH2NR3 plus and OH minus, CH2NR3 plus and OH minus in this manner. Now if you can see this resin, the resin molecule contains actually positive charge. Yes or not? Now this time resin molecule contains positive charge like this, and correspondingly we have a OH minus group, OH minus anion group actually available like this. So in a previous case, because we are using sulfuric acid, so this group actually at that time there is a SO3 minus and H plus kind of group at all para positions of the styrene molecules. But in this case we are using another reagent like combination of formaldehyde, trialkylamine in the presence of base. Now this time we have a CH2NR3 plus and OH minus group. So this group actually attached to the all para positions of the styrene divinyl benzene copolymer in this manner. So that means due to this group, now this resin molecule contains positive charge, and correspondingly we have a OH minus replaceable anion like this. So that means this is acting as a one of the anionic exchange resin. So this can act as it can able to exchange anions available in the solution with these OH minus ions. So that means this is one of the important anion exchange resin like this. So then how to represent anion exchange resin? So this is the representation of anion exchange resin. So the resin molecule contains positive charge and corresponding we have a OH minus ions in this manner. So all these OH minus ions can be replaced with any other anions available in the solution. So like this ion exchange method requires two important reagents. One is actually cation exchange resin, other one actually anion exchange resin. So cation exchange resin useful to exchange all types of cations available in the solution, and anion exchange resin useful to exchange all types of anions available in the given water sample. So like this, in this case there are two types of two reagents are actually required, and so we need actually two different reagents like this. This is what is this actually? This is actually one of the cation exchange resin, and this is actually another anion exchange resin. So like this we need two different reagents, and this is the representation of the cation exchange resin, and this is the representation of the anion exchange resin. So we need these two reagents. Whenever if you send water first, hard water, if you send hard water through this cation exchange resin, what will happen? So this hard water sample contains either calcium 2 plus or a magnesium 2 plus or any other heavy metal ions. Any other heavy metal ions are available in the water medium. So these cations actually exchanged with these cations actually occupying some other portions of the protons and releasing that protons into the solution. So actually the coming water actually having lot of H plus ions, and some of the calcium magnesium ions actually absorbed by resin surface like this. All these cations actually absorbed by resin surface like this. The remaining water actually contains huge amount of protons, that means they're highly acidic in nature. Again, this water again goes to the another exchange resin, anion exchange resin like this. The remaining whatever the water coming from the cation exchange resin, so that water actually goes to the second resin. So in this case, here only cations are actually removed. So we have actually calcium magnesium salts. Let us say we have a calcium chloride in the water sample. So this calcium cation actually removed in the first step, but the solution contains this Cl minus ions. So that water actually goes to the second exchange resin, and here all types of anions actually completely removed because of the exchange of this OH minus with any other anion. So the remaining water actually called demineralized water only. The remaining water actually is called actually demineralized water. So like this, in this process there is a need of two different reagents. First, cation exchange reagent actually removing all types of cations, and the second anion exchange reagent actually removing all types of anions available in the water sample. So let us see how it is possible. Now, principle of ion exchange method. Basically, in this case, there is exchange of cations or exchange of anions from the solution to the resin surface. So let us understand what is this actually. This is actually cation exchange resin, and this is actually anion exchange resin. What is the use of cation exchange resin? Cation exchange resin can able to replace cations available on the surface and cations available in the solution. So let us assume that, so this is a hard water sample. So this hard water sample, maybe this is a hard water sample. This hard water sample contains calcium chloride like this. Let us assume this hard water sample contains calcium chloride like this. So that means calcium actually available as a C2 plus, and there are two Cl minus like this. So that is what I am representing here. Okay, like this. So these are the ions available in the given hard water. So now what we are doing actually, first we are sending this water towards the cation exchange resin. Then what will happen? This cation actually replacing so some other protons in this manner. There is a exchange of cations. So initially we have two protons here. So the two protons actually replaced by calcium 2 plus and like this. In a similar fashion, so we have anions in the solution. This water sample contains two Cl minus also like this. Now this water actually going toward the anion exchange resin. Here the two, there is a replacement of OH minus with Cl minus and like this. So like this, there is a release of protons in the first case, and there is a release of OH minus in the second case, and all cations actually absorbed by the cation exchange resin, All anions actually absorbed by the anion exchange resin. Finally, these two are combined to form water molecule like this. Like this. So, like this we can able to purify. This is actually hard water. This actually hard water actually contains calcium chloride impurity. So, now we send this water toward the cation exchange resin. So, there the calcium actually removed by this manner. The remaining water actually goes to the anion exchange resin. So, there the remaining two chloride ions also actually removed by in this manner. So, the finally what we have actually only purified water like this. This is actually called demineralized water in this method. So, like this, so basically there is a exchange of cations or exchange of anions in this method. So, basically there is a exchange of cations from the solution to the surface resin surface, or exchange of anions from the solution to the surface of the resin like this. So, like this there is a exchange of ions in this particular method. Okay. Now, let us say what are the possible reactions in the case of cation exchange resin or in the case of anion exchange resin. So, in this case what is the meaning of RH? RH actually indicating that this is the cation exchange resin, and these are the cations available in the hard water sample. Our hard water sample contains either calcium salts or magnesium salts. So, initially these cations, calcium and magnesium cations, now interact with resin molecules, resin substance. Immediately there is a formation of, there is exchange of protons like this. There is exchange of protons like this, and there is a formation of calcium resin, and there is a release of two protons in this manner. So, the two H plus are actually released into the water medium. Similarly, if water sample contains magnesium salts, even magnesium salts also undergoes exchange process. There is a formation of corresponding magnesium resin, and two protons actually released into the water sample. So, like this, in the first step there is a release of more number of protons into the water medium. If more number of protons available in the water medium is water pH value actually decreasing. So, that is the reason water having low pH value in the first stage. Once we send hard water into the cation exchange resin, all cations actually removed in this manner. Resin actually taking the calcium magnesium ions in this manner and releasing protons into the water medium. So, therefore, water pH value actually decreasing in the first step. So, always having low pH value. Now, coming to the second step, the remaining water actually enters into the second resin. So, what is second resin? Anion exchange resin. So, here all types of anions available in the solution actually removed like this. So, this is the representation of the anion exchange resin actually. So, this is the representation of the anion exchange resin like this, ROH, R plus and OH minus. This is the representation of the anion exchange resin. So, ROH means anion exchange resin, RH means cation exchange resin. So, let us assume that the given water sample contains three different types of anions like this. That means calcium chloride is available, or calcium sulfate is available, or magnesium carbonate is available, or magnesium sulfate is available, or magnesium chloride is available like this. But all these calcium magnesium ions actually removed in the first step, but the solution still contains the corresponding anions like Cl minus, SO4 2 minus, or CO3 2 minus like this. So, now these anions actually undergoes exchange process in the second step. In the second step, anions available in the solution exchanges with anions available on the surface of the resin. So, there is a formation of corresponding RCl. That means the resin taking the Cl minus anion. There is a formation of R2SO4. That means resin taking the sulfate anion also, and R2CO3. So, resin also removing the carbonate anions and releasing OH minus ions into the solution. That means water medium. All OH minus actually enters into the water medium. In the first stage, there is the release of protons. In the second stage, there is a release of OH minus ions. Then what will happen? So, H plus ions can easily combine with OH minus ions, and there is a formation of corresponding water like this. And this water actually called demineralized water, because we are removing the all types of salts from the given water sample like cations, anions, all ionizable salts actually removed by this method in this manner like this. Okay, so at cation exchange resin, these are the possible reactions. At anion exchange resin, these are the possible reaction. Finally, there is a formation of corresponding water in this manner, that is actually called demineralized water in this method. Okay, this is fine. But the problem is, So this is our resin. Now we are sending actually water toward the cation action resin. All types of cations, let us say calcium in this case, actually replacing the all protons available in the resin surface like this. But at a certain point of time, if you do the same process continuously like this, what will happen? At certain point of time, all these protons actually completely replaced by calcium cations like this. All the protons actually completely replaced by calcium cations like this. Okay, like this. At that time, if still you are providing hard water sample, so we are sending actually hard water sample continuously toward the another resin, cation action resin like this, but this resin contains actually fixed number of protons only. What are the resin we are taking that contains actually fixed number of protons. But generally for one calcium cation, we need actually 2 protons like this. So like this, whenever calcium ions enters into the cation action resin, there is a release of corresponding protons into the water medium. But at certain point of time, all the surface actually completely occupied by corresponding cations like this. But after that, there is no further action process after this. Yes or not? At this stage, if you provide one more calcium 2 plus ion, so it cannot replace with another Ca2 plus cation. Yes or not? So that means once this stage is reached, there is no further exchange process, further exchange process in this case. Similarly, in the second case also. So this anion action resin also having a replaceable OH minus in this manner, and the corresponding anion, depending on the charge on the anion, there is a release of corresponding OH minus ions. At certain point of time, the entire surface actually occupied by corresponding anions in this manner. So after this, there is no further exchange process. That means, so this stage actually called exhaust stage. Both the resins are actually exhausted. They cannot exchange the further cations or further anions at this stage. So then what we have to do in order to continue this process, in order to remove cations anions from the solution, from the resin, from the water sample, again we have to regenerate the corresponding resins like this. We have to reform these corresponding resins like this. So how to regenerate corresponding resins once resins actually exhausted in this manner? So this, after reaching this stage, what we have to do? How to regenerate or reform the corresponding pure resin like this? So that means we need some kind of regenerating agents. Always we have to use a regenerating agents also. Once we use a regenerating agent, again this exhausted resin converting back to corresponding pure resin like this, or corresponding anion resin like this. So we need actually regenerating agent in order to convert the exhausted resin into corresponding free resin like this. So what are the suitable regenerating agent in the case of cation action resin or in the case of anion action resin? That we will see. So generally, what is this actually? Calcium R2. That means this is actually calcium resin. The resin surface is completely occupied by calcium ions like this. So now this resin, if we provide dilute HCl solution, hydrochloric acid solution, again there is a formation of RH like this, and there is a formation of calcium chloride like this. It is easily soluble in the water medium. So like this, by using dilute HCl, we can regenerate the corresponding resin in this manner. Even if you have any magnesium resin, that means resin surface occupied by magnesium cations, if we provide dilute HCl, again we can regenerate the corresponding RH. RH means original resin, and again there is a formation of water soluble magnesium chloride in this manner. So like this, by using dilute HCl, we can able to regenerate the resin molecule again, resin surface again. That is possible. Similarly, in order to regenerate the anion action resin, we need actually sodium hydroxide, dilute sodium hydroxide. Like this. So RCl or R2SO4 or R2CO3 minus, actually that means these are the different anions actually absorbed by the resin molecule, anion action resin. So this, if you provide sodium hydroxide solution like this, again there is a reformation of ROH NaCl in this manner, or Na2SO4 in this manner, or sodium carbonate in this manner. In all the cases, we can able to regenerate anion exchange resin in this manner. So like this, we have to regenerate the corresponding anion exchange resin by using dilute H2S, by using sodium hydroxide solution like this. Sorry, by using sodium hydroxide solution in this manner. So like this, ion exchange process always requires regenerating agents also. So we have to provide regenerating agents also. In the case of cation exchange resin, we need actually dilute HCl, or in the case of anion exchange resin, we need actually sodium hydroxide solution. Okay. Now let us see the block diagram of ion exchange unit or demineralization unit. Then we can able to understand what is this entire process. Okay. So this is the block diagram of ion exchange or demineralization unit. So we have two different chambers like this, and one of the chamber we have introduced actually cation exchange resin. In another chamber we have actually introduced actually anion exchange resin, and this is the inlet for hard water. So this is actually inlet for the hard water. That means water actually enters into this chamber in this manner. Okay. So here there is a cation exchange resin. So what is the role of cation exchange resin? So whatever the calcium or magnesium 2+ ions available in the water medium, all those things are actually absorbed at this stage. Cations actually absorbed at this stage. So the resin surface actually taking this calcium and magnesium ions, and the remaining water actually going to the second unit like this. The remaining water actually goes to the second chamber like this. And if you see the water pH value at this stage, so very low pH. Low pH available in this water because there is release of more number of protons into the solution. There is release of more number of protons into the solution. So in the second chamber, what is there? So the second chamber we have anion exchange resin. So here all types of anions like Cl minus or SO4 2 minus or CO3 2 minus, whatever it is, all anions actually removed, absorbed by this anion exchange resin. The remaining water contains only OH minus ions, other anions like this. So this water actually coming like this. And the first stage we have H plus ions. Here also there is release of OH minus ions. So there is a formation of water finally, and that water actually coming outside like this. So this is the purified water or softened water. So this is actually known as demineralized water in this manner. So like this, first hard water enters into the cation exchange resin. So there all cations like calcium 2+ or magnesium 2+, any other heavy metal ions are available. All those things are actually removed by the cation exchange resin here. The remaining water actually coming in this manner, it goes to the second chamber, and here all types of anions like Cl minus, SO4 2 minus, CO3 2 minus, all these ions actually removed at this stage. The remaining water actually coming outside, that is actually purified water. But we have another problem. So if you do this process at certain point of time, a certain period of time, both cation exchange resin and anion exchange resin undergoes, they cannot undergo exhaust stage. So once they reach exhaust stage, we have to do regeneration process. So how to regenerate cation exchange resin? By using dilute HCl. How to regenerate anion exchange resin? By using dilute sodium hydroxide solution. So this is actually dilute HCl tank, regenerating agent for the cation exchange resin. So this is actually HCl, and this is actually dilute sodium hydroxide base solution like this. So by using this solution, we have to send simultaneously this one also from this side like this. So by using dilute HCl, we can do regeneration process also. One time we are sending hot water, second time we are sending actually regenerating agent. Here also one time actually water coming inside, and other time we are sending actually sodium hydroxide solution. So during the regeneration process, what are the soluble salts are there like calcium chloride, magnesium salts, all those things can be removed from this side. All washings actually coming outside in this manner, and here also all the washings actually coming from this side. Washings means during the regeneration process, what are the soluble salts are available, those actually coming outside in this manner, and here also. All the undesirable actually going like this. So like this, from this method, we can able to purify the water sample, and this is one of the highly efficient method. So most of the industries always follow this ion exchange process for removal of various cations and various anions available in the corresponding water sample. Okay, so this is the block diagram. So now we'll show one of the video how this how this ion exchange unit actually available in various industries. So this is one of the water purification chamber. Here basically 4 different units are there. So but in our case we are actually ion exchange resin, cation exchange resin are there. So this is actually cation exchange vessel. So this is the cation exchange chamber. So this chamber contains resin like this, and once water enters into this manner, so it can able to remove all types of cations. It cannot remove all types of anions. So this is the first unit. Now water actually enters into the degasser. So degasser unit means it contains any dissolved carbon dioxide. Even that carbon dioxide actually removed in this manner from the degasser unit. And after that, water enters into the another chamber. So that is actually anion exchanger, anion exchange vessel. This is the anion exchange chamber. Here also we have anion exchange resin, and here water goes in this manner. We can remove all types of anions like this. So the remaining water actually enters into the third one, that is actually, here we have actually silica, sand particle like this. So this is actually purified water. So that is finally coming outside from this unit. So like this ion exchange method actually one of the crucial method in various industries. They used to purify the water sample by using this method, by maintaining system like this. So what are the advantages of this method, or what are the disadvantages of this method? So the advantage actually, so this process can use it to soften highly acidic water or highly basic water. For example, we have a highly acidic water sample or highly basic water sample. So both water samples can be purified by using this method, because in this method we are using 2 different reagents. One is actually cation exchange resin, other one actually anion exchange resin. So that cation exchange resin actually removing all types of cations, and anion exchange resin actually remove all types of anions. That means there is no problem whether the given water sample actually highly acidic in nature or basic in nature. There is no issue. And second important thing actually, unlike Gillette process, so ion exchange method provides actually sodium free water. Actually Gillette method actually one of the important method. So that is also one of the useful method for purifying the water sample. But Gillette method, Gillette actually sodium aluminum silicate. Gillette sodium aluminum silicate. So that means Gillette also one of the inorganic polymer, 3-dimensional polymer. It is also having porous structure, and even that material also can be used to remove all types of anions from the water sample. But in that case we have a replaceable sodium cations. Whereas ion exchange process we have a replaceable protons, but Gillette actually contains replaceable sodium ions. So that means whenever calcium or magnesium ions are replaced by using Gillette method, always the remaining water contains lot of sodium salts only. The remaining water contains so much sodium salts only. So that's the reason, unlike Gillette process, the soft water does not contain sodium water in the case of ion exchange method. Because in case of ion exchange method, instead of this one we have a proton. Our resin actually contains either proton or OH minus ion only. So that means we are getting actually sodium free water in the case of ion exchange process. Unlike Gillette process, because Gillette process always produces sodium containing water only. But unlike Gillette process, ion exchange method actually providing sodium free water, because here we have a replaceable protons only. And it removes all cations and anions. Ion exchange method actually removes all cations as well as all anions. But whereas in Gillette process we can able to remove only cations only. We cannot remove anions. That is the disadvantage of Gillette process. All ionizable impurities can be removed. If you have any ionizable impurity, like even organic compound, it is converting into cation and anion, or any other type of ionizable compounds that are available in the given water sample, we can able to remove all types of such materials from this method. So all ionizable impurities can be removed by this method. Okay, that is possible. And it produces water very low hardness value, less than 2 ppm. So ion exchange method actually provides ion exchange method actually effectively removes the all hardness producing substances like calcium, magnesium ions. If you see the hardness value after purification method, that is actually less than 2 ppm like this. That is actually possible. Most of the industries actually requires this kind of water sample only. If water sample actually having hardness less than 2 ppm, particularly thermal power plants and nuclear power plants, they need water sample with hardness value less than 2 ppm only. So that is the reason most of the thermal industries or nuclear power plants actually they are using ion exchange method in order to purify the impure water into salt water by using this method. So these are some of the advantages of this method. And coming to the disadvantages or limitations. So even though this method effectively removes both cations and anions, but there is a requirement of anion exchange chamber, cation exchange chamber. We have to synthesize cation exchange resin as well as anion exchange resin. So that synthesis, so this process actually little bit expensive in nature when compared to the previous methods called like lime soda process or Juliet method. Both equipment and resins are costly. We have to synthesize the resins according to our requirement only. So, and both equipment and resins are actually a little bit costly. So that means this method actually a little bit expensive method. And if you're using turbid water, for example, we have water sample that is highly turbid in nature. A lot of sand particles, dust particles are available. So if you use the turbid water for this process, actually the efficiency of the method actually decreases because the resin surface actually occupied by all this turbidity, it cannot exchange the cations like calcium or magnesium ions or anions in the solution. So if you are using any turbid water, it decreases the efficiency of the ion exchange process. So that is the only limitation we have here, and otherwise it is actually one of the expensive method, but it actually have a lot of advantages like this. So this is all about the ion exchange method, how this method actually purifying the water sample by removing all types of cations and all types of anions, all those things. So this is all about actually our first unit. So in this session, I discussed about what is ion exchange method and how to synthesize some of the ion exchange resins by sulfonation method and by reacting with formaldehyde and trialkylamines, and what is the principle of ion exchange method. Basically, the exchange of cations, that is the main principle, and what are the reactions involved in the case of ion exchange method. Reactions at cation exchange resin and reactions at anion exchange resin, and there is a regeneration process also. Those things we discussed. And finally, we discussed about what are the advantages of ion exchange method and limitations of ion exchange method. So this is all about actually first unit. So in this unit, we covered actually chemical bonding topic as well as water technology and all together. And the next session onwards, we will discuss about the second unit, that is actually electrochemistry. And if you have any queries, so please contact to my email ID, or you can contact through my mobile number also. So thank you one and all for following this lesson. Thank you.